Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Home Geekery, where today I'll be talking about the closed beta of a game a lot of you been waiting for, Warhammer Chaosbane.
Ice cold lemonade.
Now, if you're not familiar with the Warhammer universe or the lore behind it, that's okay. I wasn't either until I'm going to say about the 90s. I first heard about Games Workshop doing Warhammer Fantasy. You see, I was a D&D player in the 1980s and 70s and 90s. And then I found out that there was this new game called Warhammer, which came out in, I believe, 1983. And it had some Lovecraftian aspects to it. It was made in the UK. And I was like, what? Another D&D type of game? Yeah. Well, it turns out Games Workshop was no stranger to me because I've been playing a board game since the 80s called Hero Quest. And I said, wow, I love this game. I've had this game forever. In fact, I still have the game. It's on my shelf. And the fact is, Games Workshop, they took D&D, made a board game out of it, packaged it with all the minis you needed, all the dice, everything. Like, even then, I played games on the board games called Space Hulk, which I thought was like Alien, where you're a bunch, or Aliens, I should say, where you're like a bunch of space marines on a derelict ship, and you're trying to kill and not be killed by these alien life forms called gene stealers. Turns out they're in the same universe too. And then I also played a board game, which I still own as well, called Blood Bowl, which is basically American football done by fantasy characters like elves and dwarves and orcs and trolls and undead. So yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of these games before I knew this is part of a world of Warhammer, and they had their own mythology, which astounded me. So I delved into this. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gods. They have their own systems. They've got their own way of life. They've got different dice. It was everything I've wanted ever since playing D&D. And I was astounded. So yeah, of course I started playing Warhammer Fantasy with my group. And it turned out that they've gone through a few editions. And in fact, I've got right here the third edition of the game, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It's this huge box. Oh god, it's like a really heavy box, complete with minis and characters, and yeah, but I do prefer the original editions of the game. I'm an old school D&D player, so I prefer the old school type of role play. But even though after that I had found out that they had made video games, so I'm like, what? So, me being the grognard that I am, I had to go and get into a game called Warhammer, which is a minis game with you have an army of miniatures, and you go against other people's miniatures, and you fight a war, and you got to use tape measures and all this stuff. And so yeah, I got into that heavily, and I spent a lot of money doing that. But I will tell you one thing: this game, Warhammer Chaosbane, is nothing like any of those. This is a computer, I would say, action RPG, kind of like the elephant in the room is Diablo. Yeah, it's much like Diablo in the fact that you go in, you fight stuff in hordes, they attack you, you attack back, you do a quest, you get more stuff and loot. Yes. But is it a bad thing? No, not at all. Because they're using the same lore, the same fantasy background, the same gods that I fell in love with while playing these old Warhammer games. So, kind of like saying, what if they took Lovecraft and made a Diablo ish type of game where you fight the Elder Gods, and the developers were so into Lovecraft that they knew what to put in, like not only Cthulhu, but other things like oh gosh, like if you had to go to Relier and like fight Subnigrov, you know what I mean? It's like the developers knew that they love Warhammer and they know the lore, and they're trying to make a game where you can just go in, fight a bunch of stuff, have fun, drop some loot, enjoy. So I was honored to get offered a beta test in Warhammer Chaosbane, the new game coming out, I believe, June 4th of this year. And wow, this game is a lot of fun. One, it's not an RPG per se. It's a kind of an action RPG. The big elephant, though, yeah, it looks a lot like Diablo. I agree. And it plays a lot like Diablo. But you know what? I think it's kind of more fun than Diablo in the fact that you're in the Warhammer universe, using the lore, using the gods, using the scripts, whatever they did in a game that any Warhammer fanboy would squeal over like I did after seeing what was going on. But the fact is, even if you're not a Warhammer fan, or if you don't know the lore behind Warhammer, you don't have to. You want to go in, you want to kill a horde of stuff. You want to run into a room and have a bunch of chaos creatures looming all over you, and you want to be able to go boom and just blow them away at once and be able to take them all out at the same time. In fact, yeah, you've got 4 different characters to start with. You've got your tank, which is a fighter, kind of a warrior. You've got the Slayer, the dwarf, who is kind of a damage per second type of character. You've got the mage, who I love playing as, and you've also got the wood elf ranger, who has a bow and arrow. Now, even if you're not familiar with Warhammer, you want to go in with some buddies and just blow stuff away. So what should we start with first? I'm thinking the cons. For one thing, I think that the pathfinding system is kind of wonky because, for the record, I played on PC on Steam and mouse and keyboard, like I always do. And the fact is, I would try to have my character maneuver somewhere, and he'd stick on a wall and just stay there. And I'm saying, no, go around, so I'd have to physically move my guy around the wall. Or some enemies would stick in a wall when trying to attack me. And which I did find to my advantage at times. I was like, all right, cool. So I'd like go in and like run out, and they'd try and get me, and they'd be stuck on a wall. But again, it's in the beta, so I'm sure they can fix this, no problem. The second thing I had wrong with this is the fact that I didn't have any friends to play with that I knew online. I looked for groups to play with other people. The other thing was that I didn't have a lot of time to play with the characters and to play with the different scenarios, but I had about a week of gameplay before the beta went down again for another test coming up. I found it very a bit easy on the normal mode. On the hard mode, it actually seemed more balanced, but that's just me playing games from like Baldur's Gate and Diablo and stuff like that since the get-go. So I don't know. I think the balancing might be an issue with new people, because there is a newbie mode, but I don't play the newbie mode. I play normal, and hard. I couldn't get to the harder. There was like a nightmare mode or something, which I could not unlock. I guess due to the beta. I also think that there was some tiers in the when you level your character. You've got different skills, okay? And I think that there was a tier there, the God tier, which I really, really wanted to see, but I guess it wasn't available in the beta. So, it's a tease? Yes. I really want to see what this is. And now for the pros. I really think that the art looks really good. A lot of people may complain saying that, oh, it looks dated or it looks 10 years old or no, I disagree. I think that the artwork is amazing. It looks hand drawn. I like that style of art in a game. It's not Diablo 3 at the same time. It's not cheesy, kind of like Torchlight 1 or 2, cartoony. So no, I think it fits a nice blend in the middle. It's a perfect fit for what I'm looking for. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I didn't like the voice acting." I did. In fact, I run RPGs all the time, and I thought that the voice acting was superb. People will complain, "Oh, some people sounded cartoony." Well, guess what? When I run a game, that's how I sound. I'm saying, "Oh no, help me, sir. I would like," stuff like that. So I have no problem with the voice acting. I think it's fine. I like the fact that they put a lot of the lore into Warhammer. I really, really liked some of the villains and the bad guys, the monsters in this game. I'm hearing that there's, what, 70, 80 monsters that are unique in this game? I believe it. There's a lot. And there's some really, really good, I want to say, different kind of monsters where, like, if you've ever seen the movie Critters, or Critters 2, I should say, when the critters get together and they make this big ball and they roll over the good guys and eat everything in their path? Well, the little guys in here, in this game, they do the same thing. They roll up into a ball and they come over and try and kill you. And if you kill it, it explodes into a mass of different nerdlings that you have to kill afterwards. So yeah, I thought that was really amazing. I really liked the way the monsters were used in this. The fact that it's not like any other game you've ever played other than Diablo, I'll say 3, where the big fat guy and you blow up his stomach and he turns into like these worms. Not like that at all though. Similar but different. And I really dig the way they utilize the different bad guys, because if you're aware of the Warhammer lore, you'll know exactly where you're coming from. The Beastmen, everything. The Chaos Army is perfect. And it looks like the people who made this game knew what they were doing, and they really enjoyed putting the Chaos Army in this game. Well, when I play the Warhammer minis, I'm always playing the Chaos Army. So, yeah. It looked like they were trying to give their love to Chaos. I also really dug the fact that the backgrounds looked epic. However, one of the things I had was in Diablo 3, a lot of the backgrounds and a lot of the I want to say the set design, you could break, you can smash, you can manipulate and do things with. Yeah, I wish they had a lot more of that in this game. If they were to like have more background things you can interact with and break and smash, and that would be a plus for me. But unfortunately it doesn't, so you're stuck to doing the barrels and the chests and the bad guys. But a minor inconvenience. I mean, who am I? Another thing I really, really liked was the fact that when you do a quest, you have the option to get out and then start the quest again as if like start it over. Where Well, I guess Diablo 3 does the same thing. However, it's always different, like randomized every time you do. In this, no, it's a static game. And I like that. Like doing the sewers. I had to stop in the middle of the sewers because I had to feed my child. So it turned out, hey, I went back in and the stuff was in the same place. So I like that. Rather than have to do the whole thing again. I love the different things you can do with your character. In fact, there's a whole, I must say, there's books you can learn about the lore of these characters and the magic items. But if you're not a fan of the Warhammer universe, you can just skip that and just say, hey, all right, cool loot, man. But my jaw was dropping, saying like, what? I got that, and yeah. There's a lot of Easter eggs in the stuff you pick up. And I really dig the fact that you can, when you level your character, you can actually use different skills to match your, I guess, how you want to play. And it's a lot different than other games like Torchlight or Diablo, where you can actually, I guess, strategize your attacks and your powers, which I think is really cool. I can't wait to see the God tier. Please let us see that before the game comes out. But yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, even at the start, you really feel godlike. I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than like jumping into headfirst a crowd of chaos monsters like nerdlings and the sort, and just blasting them. And you're only like third level, so it's not like you're this weakling with a sword. Just no, you've got different powers. At second level, you get your ability. Yeah, I like that. You feel more superhuman as you would, like right off the bat. And from there, it only goes up. When you're dealing like at 5th level, doing like 200 damage per bad guy, that's a lot of fun. And to make it better is other people. When this comes out, you're going to have the ability to play with other people. And like I said, unfortunately, I couldn't get other friends because I don't know anybody else who has the game. So I want to play this with 4 people. Like you got your tank, you got your mage who I played, you got your DPS guy, the damage per second guy, you got your ranger, the wood elf. I cannot wait to see what that looks like. That is going to be amazing. And wow, right there is what sold me. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And on hard mode, I can't imagine what the next mode's going to be like. The nightmare mode they've got in store. So yeah, count me in. But all in all, this game, it looks nice. It sounds nice. It plays nice. A couple of little hiccups and bugs here and there with like pathfinding and such, but you know what? It's beta. It can be fixed. They've got months until what, June. So I'm all in. I cannot wait to buy this game. And when it comes out, I'm going to be one of the first people in there. And you better look for me to play multiplayer, because I'll be there waiting. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. And please, please check out Warhammer Chaosbane. And if you can, check out the lore behind it. Look at the books. Look at the RPG. Look at the miniature game. Read up about it before you play this. You won't be disappointed. You'll love it. So again, Home Geekery, signing off.